right, we are officially live in the world. Guys, say something so I can do a sound check.
Check, check, sound check.
Okay, cool. I've had the worst luck with this program resetting. You know how Windows does an update once a week? It resets all of my audio, everything from my microphone to my. There's like 7 different things that have to be just right, and inevitably, at least once or twice a month, I will forget one thing and have terrible sound. So.
So I shouldn't say it because it's going to jinx it, but this is the first time I think my sound has worked first try.
Well,
So,
you're good on this end too, so no, go ahead and say it. I don't believe in jinxing. I do
okay.
believe in karma, and we deserve some good karma.
We're banking it. We definitely are. 2 years, right? That's why we're here. 2 years, Letters for Legacy. We started May 1st, 2023.
I feel like it was earlier than that because this will be our third Las Vegas convention running the table. It feels like it's more like the third anniversary, but I believe you. You started it. I just sort of found you.
Well, so it was April 20th of 2023 when we had the Picard finale of The Last
Okay.
Generation. And that was when sort of the Facebook group that already had been running for a few months as Star Trek Titan, this was at the time that some of the early ruminations were going around. Terry Metalis had put out his tweet saying, hey, if there were to be a continuation, I'd call it Star Trek Legacy. So that's where the fandom really latched onto this idea of Star Trek Legacy. And it was literally right after that finale where they had that in credit scene where boom, here's Q, and he's like, let's go. Humanity's
Yeah.
Trial is on again. That I went and I changed the Facebook group from Star Trek Titan, and ever since it's been Star Trek Legacy. But the official launch of Letters for Legacy was May 1st. That's when I sent the first letter to Tom Ryan over at Paramount.
Okay. All right. All right. Yeah. Are
Somebody's
you?
here.
Somebody's here. Oh, good. Hey. Hello,
Hi,
Miss
Miss.
Maria.
How are you?
Greetings. How are you doing, Marie Jose?
Well, good. And you? How are you?
We're hanging in there. We're doing everything we can to keep positive and keep focused. And, we were just talking about the 2 year anniversary of the Letters for Legacy mission.
Perfect. Well, I think that you have uh, heard about the blockade of Europe last Monday, right? Blockout, not the
Uh-huh.
blockout. The blockout.
Oh, yes, yes, the blackout, yes.
Yeah, it was my birthday that
Oh,
day.
no.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, the candles only burn brighter.
So, well, I'm not going to forget that birthday.
No. No, not at all.
At least I could reach home. It took me 6 hours, but because I'm quite far from my job is quite far from my house, but I could reach my house at 7 o'clock in the afternoon. So when the electricity came back at night, I was in my terrace, looking everything around us. What was completely dark
Wow.
because we didn't have electricity, and little by little all the lights started to appear. So it was quite beautiful at the end, but it was a hard day.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I'm
what
glad
about
you're home
you?
safe.
Oh,
I
sorry.
mean,
Yes. The only problem was that nothing worked. The mobile phone, the buses, the tube, the trains, nothing worked except for the buses and the taxis. So finally, I could took a taxi in Madrid. But first, I had to reach Madrid because my job is quite in the north of Madrid, very far from my home, and it was difficult to reach Madrid. And then in Madrid to take a taxi because there were rivers of people walking and walking, trying to reach Atocha. Atocha is almost the center of Madrid,
okay.
and there is a important point of public transport in Atocha. So lots of people wanted to reach Atocha to see if you could take something to come back home. It
Yeah.
was difficult, but I was lucky at the end.
Marie Jose, have they actually identified the cause? I've heard a couple probabilities that there was a rare sort of atmospheric phenomenon. I don't know if they're saying something like a solar flare, or if it was something with the infrastructure, IT, that there was do they know what caused it? Because I understand it affected both Spain and parts of France. Is that correct?
No, it affected Spain, France, Portugal, Italy, Germany, Holland. So it affected quite, and I don't know if more countries because, but it affected quite a big part of Europe.
Wow.
So it was incredibly important. So I mean, it's like a film. We are living in a film, science fiction film or something like that.
Yeah, to move the like
We feel like that. The only thing that still has to happen is the people from other wars, other came here in.
She wants first contact to happen. That's what she wanted. She wanted to be like, and here come the Balkans.
Oh, we have enough. Excuse me, we have enough. Okay, you can go to another planet. So it has been a strange week.
Actually, alien contact is on my bingo card for 2025.
Yeah, okay. No,
With
please.
everything else going on, that would probably, be a positive at this point if someone from another star system came down and just told us to our face how stupid we are as a sentient species and how we need to get our pardon me, but we need to get our shit together.
Yeah,
We need Pike to drop in and go, look, guys, you guys are screwing up your planet. We did the same thing. Let me show you what happened. Make a better choice.
Yeah, well, we are all in a complicated moment, I think, because I mean, the world seems to be going crazy or something, in different countries happening strange things and this kind of things. That's why we need the Star Trek Legacy.
Yes,
I think.
exactly.
Yeah, we need it.
Precisely what Katie and I were talking about, I think, before we went live is, when the world is going a little bit crazy, and historically it does every 80 to 100 years, the people who sort of last went through the last great war, the last great famine, or the last great political upheaval, they all sort of died, and we've lost that generational memory. And for whatever reason, as a species, we need a reminder of how bad things can get when we get stupid. So, that's with all this sort of emotional drain and all this stress for me, it really is a matter of the only way to fight it is to do something positive. And Star Trek is such an incredible beacon, is such a wonderful example to the world of how we can exist with, these wonderful things that they have in that universe that Gene Roddenberry, created with equality, that essentially I see the quote over and over again, and I should have it memorized by now. But he says we don't just need to learn how to tolerate each other. We need to learn how to revel and delight in the fact that as a species we have this wonderful spectrum of differences, and how everyone should have the opportunity to contribute to our destiny. And my personal belief is sort of our destiny is a Star Trek destiny, to get off this planet and become a multi-planetary species and invent the warp drive and get out there and become part of this galactic civilization that, it's funny, going back to the movie Contact, one of my favorite sayings is, the main character, Jodie Foster's character, is pondering, is there life out there? And here she says, well, if there's not, it's an awful waste of space.
Yeah. Well, did you want to attempt to go to your outline, Sean? By the way, I want to say you're very brave for making an outline and thinking in any way we're going to stick to it, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, primarily I gave it just for the group to look at. I don't know if anyone else has seen it. It's just an example of something that we can try, and more importantly, if we're all able, let's just say if we're going to do another live in a couple weeks, to start that outline, start that brainstorming amongst ourselves, on Discord, so everyone has a chance to contribute. And I think the most important thing about having an outline is, give everyone the opportunity, if they have something specific that they want to talk about, to make sure it's there and that we address it. So if there's anything, you are the host, Katie. So if you want to use that as a tool to just, jump into any of those talking points, great. I know I didn't incorporate some of that stuff that we mentioned in Discord, specifically, FedCon, if we want to hand it off to our European contingent.
Yeah, I definitely think we should talk about FedCon because if any of my normal viewers come by, I do have a fairly substantial amount in Europe, so there is possible that a couple of people might be thinking of going to FedCon. So Maria and Miss Dazzy there, what are the plans for FedCon?
We don't have one.
You don't have one at all. You're not
No,
going.
no,
You got
we're
no
not
swag. No.
for legacy. So we have planned for panels and but not for letters of for legacy. I don't know about you, Maria.
Well, I think that the plans are the same of last year, so we can go there, try to collect some signatures. But we didn't have a booth, so it was like, okay, we go, we give some giveaways to the people who give us a signature. I've prepared a set of new stickers. I have this one.
That's
You
a
know,
nice one.
That's awesome.
yeah, it's the one that I published in
Yeah, some of
the
the
Instagram.
we're using there.
I have also this one that I published also in the Instagram, and I have two different ones for Rafi.
What?
This one and this glitter one. Can you see the glitter?
Yeah, pretty.
And I still have to receive a new sticker about oh my god, Jack Russell. So
okay.
as Mr. Hart is going to attend to FedCon, I did this one. I did this one because I like the holographic, special paint
Special
or
effect kind of a thing.
yeah. And also Ed Speliers is going to attend, so I did the one for Ed, but I have to do it little by little because we don't have so much money. Oh well,
Yeah.
I think that you didn't know that Bilbo is not yet with us, so we spent a lot of money his last days,
Okay.
and well, we don't have so much money to make everything. So we are going to give the actors and the actresses,
Yes.
and this as a present. Also against
Oh, yeah, the mouse pads.
and I prepare special things for Michelle also.
Very cool.
So
Very nice.
that's our plans because we don't have a booth there. But I don't know if, Sin, are you going finally to attend to FedCon or not?
So yeah, as I mentioned a couple weeks ago, my renewal on my passport is tied up with the State Department, and yeah, I've had to go ahead and cancel my airline and
Oh,
my hotel because I just don't imagine it's going to be here in the next couple of weeks. The way that is going.
I'm so
Yes,
sorry.
indeed, there's something in September, so I absolutely am committed to coming
Yeah.
over and seeing you guys. That's something that has really been awesome about this project is the people I've met, especially to see that this is something that's not just here in America. It's something international. The people who have passion for Star Trek Legacy. And just going back to your discussion and all of the awesome artwork and the stickers, I think it's important that people understand, this is not a commercial thing. If you're at these conventions, if you're at FedCon, or if you see us at Star Trek Las Vegas, or have seen us the last couple of years, these aren't things that we're selling or we're trying to raise money. This is all passion and out of our own pockets as fans that we just so powerfully believe in this particular vision of this particular direction for the franchise that, this is what fans have been wanting for years now, is to see that continuation of the golden era of, TNG and Deep Space Nine and Voyager going from the 24th into the 25th century. And we're 2 years into it now, again, 2-year anniversary. And, unfortunately, there's been a lot of headwinds. I think the best opportunity for Star Trek Legacy would have been coming right out of all of that energy and all of that success of Picard Season 3, that amazing reunion that was kind of like TNG Season 8, but then the writer's strike hit, and then the actor's strike hit right at the same time.
Right.
But we're still out here, doing everything that we can as fans with what limited time and money that we have available to give something to the community to inspire them to continue to do this direct advocacy, because that's something that is so unique about Star Trek, is that connection to the fandom that it wouldn't exist but for Save Star Trek with Bijo and John Trimble back in the 60s.
Yeah.
Well, the difference, I think, is the problem when we've got too many people who want to tell stories in Star Trek, and the people are, I should say, fans in general are blaming Kurtzman for us not getting Legacy because he's got his own vision. He's the top dog in the Star Trek universe as far as what shows get made, what doesn't. What are our chances of either convincing him or getting him to step aside and allow Terry to make it? That I think is our biggest hurdle. And then politically, I hear also that like when Skydance and Paramount figure their stuff out and are all done, that Skydance is under pressure, and probably Paramount too, under pressure to get rid of a lot of shows that would be considered DEI type of shows, which is, I mean, by every blatant definition, what Legacy would be. So it makes our fight that much harder, I feel. Not to just bring everybody down, but I mean, I think these are things that we need to address too when we're going to the conventions, because people are going to ask us these questions.
Right. And, it's interesting because that's what Star Trek has always been about, is sort of disguising progressive, forward-thinking ideals into, an epic space opera television show that people from across the political spectrum and, whatever your background is, you can tune in and enjoy. So, is in the current political climate, that could be a challenge. You wonder, could Star Trek Legacy exist? But my hope is that at the end of the day, show business is a business. It's 80%, 90% probably just the business and about generating money. Is it going to generate streams? Is it going to generate advertising dollars? And what I have not heard directly, but from people who should know, is that the potential new CEO of Paramount, Ellison, was Dave Ellison, that he is a Star Trek fan. And that is sort of the point, is to show these new decision makers that this is what the fans want. This is what the fans are going to tune into. This is what's going to generate those ad dollars. This is what's going to generate those subscriptions and those streams. This is what's going to satisfy the long-term fans, which again, there's sort of this demographic challenge. They look at us and they think we're an aging demographic, unfortunately. And again, that just goes back to that analysis in business. But I think this is something that can bring in the next generation of fan as well.
Yeah, I do. I honestly do think that, because my daughter is excited to see it. She's 9. She is excited to see Star Trek Legacy and has been for about the last year. When I found that I can make sure I can bleep out, make sure no curse words come out. She really enjoyed that final season of Picard. She wants to be Captain 7. That's her one of her cosplays for this year. Is she's going to be coming to her first Star Trek Las Vegas, and she wants to be 7. She also wants to do a Fenris Ranger one, where we're going to try to see if we can figure that one for. But I mean, it's something that appeals at least to young girls. And believe it or not, there's more of us than there are. No offense, Sean, of the dudes.
Well,
So,
I mean, I'm kind of what is it, 3 to 1. It's all right. It's fine.
but I mean, and definitely we are more interested in science fiction than we might have been when Star Trek before Star Trek came out. Star Trek kind of drew in women as serious Star Trek fans as well. Um, so I feel like ignoring us and ignoring the fact that legacy would be for this next generation very easily. Screw that. We're aging demographic. We aren't the only ones who would be interested in it.
Yeah, and also the prodigy is so important for children because our children which were who weren't interested in Star Trek at all, but with prodigy they became interested
Yes.
in Star Trek, and we get on very well with the children, with Diego and Miguel, and they didn't want to watch Star Trek at all. Oh, are you watching Star Trek?
Star
They
Talk.
said Star Trek. It was like a joke. Are you watching again Star Trek? It was a joke, right? But then they watched Prodigy, and it worked so well for the
Hmm.
children. They want more Prodigy. They want more,
Yeah.
and they haven't said Star Trek since they watched Prodigy.
It's
So
it's
Yeah.
incredible to me. They keep cutting off these shows that fans really love. They're so worried about the next generation. Why do they keep getting rid of shows that the next generation adores? The production value,
but
especially of like, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
why are they canceling all those shows? I can't
Yeah,
understand.
but that's not a Kurtzman show. I don't know. What bothered me the most is that we had a very good children's recruiting show with Prodigy,
Yeah.
okay? And it's the center and the essence of Star Trek because there's nothing in it what can be um,
Hard for children.
misunderstood. It can be misunderstood. You can't read any racism or something in it. You just
Yep.
have a beautiful, very colorful, funny, interesting characters and a beautiful story behind it and a beautiful character development. And you have Janeway. I think it's still the best position they made Janeway the leading mentor in it.
Yeah.
And then they said, oh, it's not what we want, and they replaced it with a new show called Academy. When I said why, and the reason for this is we want to recruit new people, new children, new, you know. And I
Yeah.
don't understand that. Why? Why? Because it's not a Kurtzman show. So why
Yeah.
does a new show already have 2 seasons?
Well, that's why I say Kurtzman is making Star Trek for Kurtzman's sake. He's making Academy because he thinks it'll do something good for his teenage children, and that's fantastic. Make Academy for your kids, but
Yeah.
don't stop making stuff that the other fans want. I mean it makes like you said, why cancel stuff that's working, and why
Yeah.
not greenlight things that people are looking forward to?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And I mean it's hypocritical to say we don't have the money at one point,
yeah.
and then we throw away $82 million for a movie who is wasn't exactly. Hmm. So I mean we talked about that before. I said it before. I mean you could have spent this money in at least 2 or 3 movies for Legacy or an entire 5 season show with
Yeah.
I don't know 10, 12 episodes per show. So I think for me personally, it's pure egoism what's going on here. Just Kurtzman who wants to engrave his name next to Jim Roddenberry and say, I shaped Star Trek, and he did shape Star Trek, but not necessarily in a good way. That's my personal opinion. It's okay
Yeah,
to
but
do
what
the
shape is it going to be in when he's done? That's my concern.
Yeah.
So, Kurtzman gets a lot of flack, perhaps deservedly. I'm never one to throw him under the bus personally because, he was hired to do a job and the job is to go and make good entertainment. But the question is he a good torchbearer for the Roddenberry legacy? And there really hasn't been a good torchbearer for the Roddenberry legacy since I don't know. I mean,
No.
I think something that he did do wonderful for the franchise in terms of the films. That was him and J.J. Abrams, I think, had a lot of the creative energy in 2009 Star Trek. That was sort of fun and entertaining. And that's I think what's missing is there's a lot of fun and entertaining Star Trek that's coming out. When I first saw the premiere of Discovery back in 2017, I was like, wow, this is really cool. But on reflection, it was a lot of cool eye candy and that sort of deep intellectualism that can coexist with the fun and the action of the eye candy is just missing. So I think something does need to change, and I wish all the luck to Academy. But that's a show that's been rumored for decades and no one's ever really wanted.
Yeah.
Where
No.
where what we really need is something like Legacy. You bring up Prodigy. The core of the storytelling really is in that golden era. You look at TNG, you look at DS9, you look at Voyager. Well, what else is connected to that time period? Prodigy is connected to that time period with
Yes.
Janeway. Lower Decks, of course, is connected to that time period. All of Picard is connected to that time period. So when you look at sort of the pantheon of Trek as a franchise and how much of it and the storytelling and the canon and the core of it is all connected to that 24th century going into the 25th century, and Legacy could be the backbone, can tap into all of those loose threads of storytelling going back to, again, TNG, like Picard season 3 did. But let's see what's going on with some of these Voyager characters. Let's bring Janeway back to live action. The fans would absolutely love that, and I think Kate Mulgrew is chomping at the bit to get back in there. She loved doing Prodigy, but I think she's always said if the story was right, if it was written correctly for the character, if the motivation was right, she would love to be back in there as live action playing Janeway. And take some of these characters from Prodigy and Lower Decks. That was a lot of fun when they did the crossover with Strange New Worlds. Let's bring some of the Prodigy characters. Let's see how they develop and where they are several years later going into the 25th century and have them pop into Legacy occasionally.
Yeah, maybe it's going a little bit hard to do the Prodigy characters, but the Lower Decks characters. I mean, it's the Titan phase with Riker when he was captain, so they've been in the early 20s, so they are now somewhere in the 40s or something, 40s, 50s, I don't know.
Maybe we'd meet Captain Boimler. It's been a few years. Maybe we'd meet Captain Boimler.
I mean, that would be way easier to put into it. We can also have the next generation with the children of them. We can have, I don't know. I started a story where I have the main engineering as the child between Tandy and Rutherford. So
I would love to see that baby. I want to see that child. I truly do.
That's what I mean. I mean, there's so much. There are so many ideas they gave us with Prodigy. They gave us with Lower Decks. With Picard. We could tell millions of stories, deep stories, intelligent stories, and I just don't understand why he's not willing to. Well, I do understand why he's not willing it, because we have a big captain, a brown first officer, and that's
Terrible. How dare
yeah,
they?
not, and they are both people. How can they be in charge? I mean, we know that. So if the political situation in America would be different, I would say, yeah, they have a chance. But right now, I'm really against really
Yeah.
Yeah.
no matter how much money they would earn, they don't want it because gay character and personal color, and they have.
And that's why I posed the question. I don't think it's impossible, but I think it means that we're going to have to come at it from a different angle. Maybe not so much with fans when we're gathering letters or signatures and letters, but possibly with some, because there are some fans out there who are very right wing. You know, they enjoy the story, but they really don't believe that there's going to be a utopian society there's a lot of stuff that doesn't quite meld with their beliefs. So we need to try to figure out a good approach, I think, that's reasonable, realistic, and shows why it's important. So, yeah, that's kind of why I brought that up. I just think we're going to have a...
Yeah. I thought about that too, that it's important to make stuff like this, to remind all the little girls who grow up now that women can do everything. I mean, they can be captain, and they can be strong, and they can decide little, right? And they can be strong, and they can be weak, and they can fall in love, and they also can make, I don't know, mistakes. It's so important for them to see that.
Yeah.
That a woman is not just that, but they can all of it.
Well, and we know that too because we constantly hear stories about people who became what they became later in life because of what they saw in Star Trek. We know Whoopi Goldberg thought she didn't have to be a maid someday because there's Uhura on the bridge. I mean, she's a phone operator, but there she is.
Yeah, but you know what I've noticed lately is when I rewatched the animated show, that Uhura was actually the first woman of color being an active captain.
Yes.
And that was in the animated series?
Yes. It was an animated
that deserves a rewatch. I haven't seen that because there were a lot of good stories in the animated series.
Yes, you have to watch that, Sean. You have to. You must. They are so fun. Yeah.
But it was the episode when I had to kind of the siren.
Yes.
It was the planet with the woman, and they kind of drained all the men of the energy and the lifespan. And so Uhura decided we go down, and Nurse Chapel said, "Oh, what's she doing?" I'm decided. Well, the acting captain now. You can talk to later. So that was actually Uhura, the first acting captain being black and.
But we don't count the animated series for some reason.
No.
It's super fun.
It's interesting stories. They are interesting stories.
Well, quickly to paraphrase Picard, what did he say? He said, things are impossible until they're not, something to that extent. And then Spock, I believe, in Star Trek 2 said there's always possibilities. So, going back to that point that there are so many values that have inspired people, and those are a couple values that drive me. If I didn't think that there were possibilities and, things may seem impossible, but they're not. I wouldn't be going into 3 years of doing this. I'm probably running into thousands of hours of my old time, and I would probably, I don't know, have to declare bankruptcy if I knew how much money I've put into this thing. But it's a joy to do it because I have so much passion. And going back, Katie, you were mentioning, like, particularly for this show, there seems to be a strong female drive. I mean, look at this group here. There's something about the concept of legacy that, unfortunately, in fandom, particularly in genre fandom, sci-fi fandom, I don't know how much you see this, Katie, in some of the other shows. Maybe Outlander isn't so much that sort of.
I watched a lot of sci-fi in my life. Go ahead.
Sure, but there are sort of too many of these toxic fan bros out there. So it's nice to be in an environment that women have been inspired for this particular reason, that we do have the potential of a gay, of a lesbian captain of a starship with, it's a little complicated there with Raffi right next to her on the bridge. But, this is just crazy how we're so caught up in this idea of this DEI being a bad thing. You know, people like I just can't imagine how much human potential has been lost in our history because people do not have an equal seat at the table. How many geniuses, how many beautiful works of art, how many new discoveries have been lost because that particular child, just because of the amount of melanin in their skin or what genitalia they were born with, didn't have the same opportunity as, you know, whatever. You know, it's basically been throughout history. White males are the ones who have been in power, and for whatever reason, you know, it's psychologically, biologically, like we need to get over that shit because we are
Yeah.
just losing out as a species because of it.
Yeah. I I mean, nobody here is going to disagree with you, Sean. Women rock.
You know what? Let's put that on the t-shirt this year. That's fine with me.
Maybe we could find like I mean obviously Whoopi and there's another astronaut would be examples. Maybe we could make up posters or something that says women inspire great women or great characters inspire great human beings and just find as many women examples as we can, LGBTQ examples that we can. I mean, we can include some white dudes. It's okay. We're not against y'all. We just want to be, again, brought to the table as well. So maybe we could find that and make this phase a little bit about more why we want to be included, why we think
Yeah,
this story could be important.
I think in the terms of being okay, you know, sometimes I don't know how to say it in English, but you know, we have the children.
Yes.
Children don't know about what happened in the past. We have children, which are girls and boys. Okay, so for the children, we must be equal. So they have to see equally both men and women
Yeah.
because but they have to see men also
Yes.
because
Yes.
children don't know nothing about the past. So for me, it's nice to have equally examples of, of men and women in science fiction, in whatever.
Yeah, I
You
agree.
know,
I'm being snarky, Maria. I'm not trying to say we're.
well, you know that sometimes I don't understand you completely.
No, I
Also,
understand. I apologize.
no, don't worry. But it happens the same here in Spain. So sometimes, you know that I write books for children, and I go to bookstores and I talk about my books and so on, so on. And I written a book about women in science, also only women, and but it was because the scientists with which I have an association, they wanted to have this first book about Spanish women in science, actual Spanish women in science. They wanted to have the first one only with women. Okay, but my plan is to have another one, more books about Spanish scientists with men and women equally the same number, no? 3 men, 3 women, 3 men, 3 women.
Right.
But in the bookstores, they told me they needed to have only women for
Well, they're
children.
going by what they can sell, what they can market. So
Yeah,
that's
but you know, the boys also exist. So we need also for the children, for the boys, we need also examples. I mean,
no,
for
I
some
know.
of them, even for me, I don't need that the examples has to be women or man. I don't mind. I'm a scientist thanks to
Right.
MacGyver, you know.
Right.
But for
No.
some of them, they need that examples.
Yeah.
So we have to have both things, and I think Legacy has got those things. They
Yeah,
have.
there are strong male characters and strong female characters.
That's
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important. So and it happened with, I think it happened with all Star Trek shows.
Yeah.
We have strong female and male characters from the very beginning. From the very beginning. So that's why Star Trek is so good, because Star Trek didn't lose that objective,
Yeah.
because Jane Roddenberry thought in the humanity.
Yes.
So everything that was good for the humanity, or that is good for the humanity, for all of us, is in Star Trek. All those values, and of course, he didn't forget women, because we are so important for humanity. So, and that's good. And I don't understand why some politicians and people think that shows like Star Trek or some others are like a danger because of that.
Because they are afraid of women.
And they are afraid of that. Why? I can understand, because in Star Trek, we have both things, strong male characters and strong female characters. So what's the problem? I don't
I think
understand.
this would be a much longer and different conversation if we went and talked about that, Maria, because there are a lot of things, mostly people feeling threatened and the reasons why. But again, that would be a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And across our political spectrum, that is something that I don't think is unique to American politics, but it's definitely
No.
something that we've strongly devolved into, is the politics of fear, and it's on both sides of the spectrum. I
Yeah,
think some are more
absolutely.
guilty than others, but it is sort of a plague on both houses in terms of how everything is just like, well, those people are the other, and be afraid of them. Those people are making life hell for you, and they're the other, and just some of the language. And even I have so many of my friends that talk about, well, because of this person's political views, we were the best friends forever, or they're my family, and I don't talk to them anymore. And I think that's the worst thing that's happening, is that's where people are going. We just aren't going to have discussion anymore. We're not going to sit down at the table and try to understand each other.
Well, I
That's
think
the
And
too,
problem.
we've gotten to the point where both sides, whatever side you're on, all sides, we're so stuck with what we believe that there is no room for discussion anymore either. We're very sure, and again, like you said, fear, we're very sure that the other guy is making horrible decisions and it's nothing but destruction to us. And they think the exact same thing. They're sure that whatever decisions that the other guy is making is nothing but destruction to them. And so there's no room to talk. It's my way or the highway on both sides because of fear. And
I
again,
can I can tell you a story about. I mean, the situation in Germany is not not quite similar to States, but we are getting there.
yeah, we're getting close. Give us a couple of months.
No, I mean, we had a election in February, and the right wing party had a lot of um, votes. And I told you I have a brother that he's 6 years older, 6 years older than me, and we are on the phone constantly. And we have very different political positions. He's in the right, and I'm not. So politically. So and we are talking about it. We talked about everything, how he sees the things, and that how the political system appeals to him and what I'm saying. And the fun fact is we both want the same thing.
I think you
Okay.
froze, hon,
Yeah.
but I
oh,
completely believe you.
well,
It's pity. Oh my God.
There went Desi.
well, heard it across. Oh,
Now,
there.
There
now.
you are. Oh,
Okay, okay. Yeah, I thought you froze. So what you got?
You want the
we
same
both want
thing.
the same thing.
He wants the same thing. Well, he is willing to sacrifice the some people. Let's say he wants. It's not about killing, but he says it's okay when they leave the country or if they go for those people. I'm saying I'm not into it. I mean, we are a wealthy society, but we need rules and we need people to follow them. But I'm not willing to sacrifice that. So we want the same, but we have different approaches. And we could have stopped talking, but he's my brother, and I'm not giving him up.
Yeah.
Okay, the point is, if you're willing to have a conversation with the people you love, you're listening. And if
Yep.
you stop listening and stop learning, then it's the end of the relationship and the end of
Yeah.
Well, and I find too, more often than not, at least with the relatives that I speak to on a regular basis, they'll ask, well, I want to apologize. Do you hate me, Katie, for what I did? What did you do? Well, after the election, do you hate me now? Because, I mean, it was no secret as to who she voted for. I was like, no, I don't hate you. I don't understand what you did. But then she would ask me, well, I don't understand what he's doing now, or I don't understand why you want it this way. And I will answer her as best as I can. And more often than not, she comes to my side of thinking. Or it goes, oh, well, that's not what I thought was going to happen. Why did that happen instead? And we talk about that. And then I have other family members who I know have no open mind whatsoever, absolutely want everything that is happening now to be happening. But I still, hope that they are doing well and hope they're remembering to feed their cat. I mean, I don't wish them bad.
No, no. I mean, the reason why people vote the way they voted, they voted the way they voted.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
You are correct.
Okay,
Yes.
is because they also fear things. They got things taught. They said, I want to be safe, I want to be wealthy. And this guy with the red hair over there, and he lied. But
Yeah.
they didn't know that he lied.
Yeah, and that's what she says more often than not. I believed him. I was like, well, I told you not to. I don't know what else to do.
You don't know this. It might be a politician, and they always lie. Okay, that's the business. But
We got off on a bad tangent here about politics. We really
yeah,
should. But see, that's,
Yeah.
well, let's close to, and
well,
that's why we need
why we need Star Trek. And Star Trek will have a better way of addressing these things, too. They always have. That's one of the great things that Gene did with Star Trek is address really difficult political concepts to talk about, divisive ones, and show it in a different light and yet the same light. And we need that again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We need to
mirror,
think.
it's a
We need
mirror.
to think. Yeah. We what Star Trek has got that hasn't got in other shows is that Star Trek makes us think about complicated questions.
Yeah.
So it's not like, okay, give public the entertainment and that's all.
Right.
Don't make them think, because if they think, they can think things that are not related with what we want. I think that's the way of thinking of politicians, or some politicians. And Star Trek has got that. It makes us think about complicated questions. It's good for entertainment, and it's good also for us to grow as persons.
Absolutely.
To that point, and what the direction of Star Trek is, the direction it's going as a franchise, and that intellectualism is, we had a couple months back when Section 31 came out, a discussion about what's going on there, and that is a specific example where that is all about power, just force of power, just blow things up, pull out your gun, shoot, ask questions later. And it's just you can have that. You can have phaser fights. You can have, awesome space battles. We've been doing it since Wrath
Yeah.
of Khan is one, the Mutara Nebula. You can have that, but you can also have that deep philosophical debate. And briefly going back to, some of the dynamics of the politics, you mentioned earlier, okay, Uhura was on the bridge, but she was the phone operator. But she was more than that. Anybody in Star Trek who's on the bridge of a starship, they are the best of the best.
Right.
Uhura wasn't just the best black female comm officer. She was the best of the best in Starfleet.
I-
One of the things I do like about the 2009 Star Trek reboot is we finally get to know her character better, because we really they revealed a couple of little things over the years, but we really never delved into her character. It really wasn't layered properly, and the reboot did that really well. I tease because that's all they really did with her on the original series, but with the reboot they were like, all right, we're gonna layer this woman. She's got a first name for one thing. She's a xenolinguistics specialist. She's amazing. I'm sorry, Maria, please go ahead.
Yeah, don't worry. And we don't see how important was Uhura, also in terms of how important is communication, because this last Monday we couldn't communicate at all. In Spain, in Portugal, in Italy, in France, in Germany, we couldn't. So the phone didn't work. I couldn't. I was in the north of Spain while my family was in the south. Sorry, I was in the north of Madrid while my family, the kids, and Rafa was in the south of Madrid, and also my parents. My parents couldn't talk with me. I was just 35 kilometers far from my house. I couldn't talk with Rafa and tell him, hey, I'm trying to come back home by walking. Where are you? I couldn't. I didn't have my phone to know where was I in the middle of Madrid. I don't know Madrid, whole Madrid. So we didn't know what was happening. What was happening? We didn't know that the electricity went. So the blackout is the word. The blackout. So, and we didn't know what was happening. Finally, only the radio works. So when you get a taxi, the taxi has got taxis have got radios. So we started to know what was happening because of that. But so communication is very important, really important. And Uhura and that so beautiful song in Strange New Worlds about communication, that's so beautiful,
good,
so good, so important. And we as a country now that day realized how important it was. So, and we try to communicate each other by talking. Do you know what is happening? No, what are you going to do? I don't know. Just perhaps I'm going to take one bus and then another bus, and they walk to. It was so important. And Uhura was really important in the original series. But as we can communicate, usually we didn't realize how important was Uhura till Strange New Worlds, I think.
Yeah, because they've developed her character very well in Strange New Worlds, and her specialty in communications and being the best of the best on more than one occasion. She's saved the day. And Strange New Worlds, it's wonderful that it is doing so well, but it's more of this fun, shiny version of Star Trek. There is, some of that intellectualism, but they do a lot of fun big box things. For instance, the musical episode, which as a piece of entertainment is beautiful. It's wonderful. It's entertaining. And wasn't there a huge bit about communication in Uhura? That was one of the musical bits, wasn't it? So that was awesome, but it's more entertaining, where Star Trek is on the spectrum of sci-fi, more hard science. It's not hard science like Andy Weir, but or like The Expanse. But when you throw in really just out there things like a musical episode or like the crossover, it's extremely entertaining, but I don't think it's really sort of what the backbone of Trek should be.
No.
Let me come back to legacy at that point, because I had an interesting, I wouldn't say an interesting conversation with you, because again, you said the best of the best, and
Mhm.
then it always comes to Rafi, right? Rafi, the first officer, or Rafi in general. And there was in Facebook there was a guy, I don't know, was a white guy, and he tried to convince me how bad Rafi is. And well, Rafi, okay,
Yes, you adore Rafi. Rafi's your
yeah,
favorite
yeah,
human
right.
being on
And
space, planets, anywhere.
whatever, she's a queen. No, but the point is, he tried to convince me how bad she is. But again, I think we both talked about that, Katie, at some point that Rafi can't be a bad first officer or a bad sergeant officer at all because she was the right hand of Cobb.
Yeah.
And you're not be or become the right hand of Cobb in a such an important subject or project like the evacuation project of Romulus if you are just looking good in your golden uniform, right?
Right.
You are someone. You have skills. You have ability, and that's the point. And just they are flaws in the writing. I agree, but to say that she is a bad character, she is badly written, I was really pissed. And she's trying and keeps trying, and at some point I said, you know what? Don't force your uh, opinion about Rafi on me because I love her and I think she is great and I think she's absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic. Stuff it off. So the best of the best. They deserve to be on this bridge.
Yeah.
She has an incredible arc, the struggles that she's been through, and this is something that's relatable. Everyone has had similar struggles, if not personally they have a close family member or friend who's been through these struggles, and at the end of the day she's overcome, and she has those skills, she's earned that right, that is her place on the
Yeah,
bridge of a Federation starship.
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, if you look closely to the all three seasons, I mean, they put a lot of emotional trash on Rafi, especially in season two. She lost Wheeler, she lost Anno first, then Rios decided to stay behind. She almost lost Seven. I'm a poor girl. I mean, that she didn't start drinking again was all, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've watched a lot of growth. We only knew her for a little while, but we've watched her grow a lot in that 3 seasons. So definitely worth a character to keep watching, to keep writing about, and see how she grows next.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would love to see that.
Yeah. I think that.
Oh, sorry.
No, don't worry.
I gave us a couple extra minutes so it wouldn't have that hard cut that we sometimes run headlong
Okay.
into. But this is going to end in 4 minutes. So if there's anything we haven't covered, anyone that needs to jump in with any notes.
You know that in Spain, it's going to we are going to have a Comic Con in Malaga. Yeah,
Okay,
in September. This first time we'll have a Comic Con in Malaga. We don't know if somebody from Star Trek is going to come, but we already have reservation for a hotel, and we'll go, of course, with the children. So if you can come, it would be amazing. And I'll try to get something, a booth or sometime to get signature, but I'm not sure I'm going to get it because it's different from Tiffy Mat,
Oh
Tiffy
yeah.
Mat is more familiar, but this is much bigger. So I don't know if I'm going to get a booth, but I'm going to try.
Maria,
Katie, would
Maria,
you would you be able to drop the Letters for Legacy contact at lettersforlegacy.org, the email to this video? So if anybody who watches it wants to reach out to us, is going to be at any sort of genre, sci-fi, Star Trek related convention, and would like to participate in the letter gathering, is that possible for you to drop our email for them to reach out to us?
I'll tell you what,
Yeah, I think so.
after I'm done with the video, you just let me know what information you want me to put in the description. Anybody watching this who would like more information about our group, how you can join us or help us, just look below in the description. I'll have a Letters for Legacy information and a couple of links there for anybody interested. You just show me on Discord exactly what, I can do more than one link. I can do plenty of them. So you give me a list of whatever ones you want.
Yeah, we'll just drop the website link and the emailed link, so I'll put that up in the Discord as soon as we're done here.
Fantastic.
And Diana, what you wanted to say something?
yeah, I just wanted to know what you booked for FedCon.
It's same hotel that last year.
No, for the events. Michelle Hurst and
Michelle, Ed, Jonathan Frakes, Jonathan Frakes, Michelle, Ed, also Voyager, Tom Paris from Voyager,
Oh, really?
and Richard Dean Anderson.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. You know, I'm a scientist, thanks in part of Richard of MacGyver. So I also have that signature, and I have a meet and greet with Ed Spiliers.
Okay, I have a meeting with Michelle Hurst.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I have places to beam off to, so I will be logging off, and we'll see you there on the Discord, and let's just keep on trucking on. Thank you, ladies.
Thank
Bye.
you, John. Bye, Maria.
Besos.
Bye, Nazi. Bye, guys. All right, so we are signing off now. Thanks everybody for joining us today. If you have any information or interest in joining us on Letters for Legacy or our mission to get Legacy created, please join us. Those links will be below. Probably there at the second that I'm recording it, but when this is over, I'll make sure to include those below. And if you have any interest in volunteering in Las Vegas, stay tuned because we may have some opportunities for some folks who would like to get a little something extra, some swag, and possibly entry to the convention itself. We'll see how that goes. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you next. Remember to always